The Silent Watchers. The observatory on Luna fell silent as Dr. Elena Kovic stared at the screen. The readings couldn't be right. She ran the calculations again, her fingers trembling over the holographic interface. They've changed course, she finally said to the empty room. All of them. For 3 decades, humanity had watched the stars in secret, while the public believed space exploration remained limited to our solar system. The truth was far different. Humanity had developed quantum entanglement communication decades ago, allowing for instantaneous observation across vast distances, and what they observed had kept Earth isolated by choice. The Conclave, an alliance of 7 advanced species, dominated the galaxy with technologies that seemed like magic. They brought peace to thousands of worlds, but Elena and her colleagues in Earth's defense intelligence had observed the truth behind that peace, subjugation masked as benevolence. Elena sent the alert through secure channels. The Conclave fleet had altered its patrol route. After centuries of avoiding Sol, they were coming directly toward Earth. Admiral James Chen stood on the observation deck of Aegis Station, a massive orbital facility hidden in Earth's L2 Lagrange point, perpetually shielded from view by the moon. Below him sprawled the greatest secret humanity had ever kept. "How many ships?" he asked when Elena's hologram appeared beside him. 37 vessels, primarily Eulurian design. Their long-range sensors likely detected our quantum communications. Chen nodded grimly. Earth had been cautious, but not cautious enough. How long? 3 months at their current velocity. 3 months to prepare for first contact with an interstellar power that had conquered 1,000 worlds and never met resistance it couldn't crush. Chen touched the communication panel. Activate Project Aegis. Full deployment. Beneath them, massive construction bays opened. For 50 years, humanity had prepared for this moment, building defenses unlike anything the Conclave had encountered before. Not weapons. The Conclave had those in abundance, but something entirely different. "Send word to the techno-mages," Chen said quietly. "It's time." In the mountains of what was once called Switzerland, behind walls that appeared to be an ordinary research facility, Dr. Marcus Way opened his eyes as the alert reached him. Around him, 500 men and women. The core of humanity's techno-mage program did the same, their neural implants synchronizing with the message. None of them spoke. They didn't need to. The neural mesh that linked their minds allowed instantaneous communication and collaboration. 50 years ago, humanity had made a choice different from any other species the Conclave had encountered. Rather than developing weapons of mass destruction, they had merged technology and human consciousness in ways that even the Conclave had never imagined. Marcus rose from his meditation chamber, nanomachines flowing over his skin to form a sleek exosuit. "Begin full spectrum analysis of the approaching fleet," he said, his voice calm, "and activate the barrier prototypes." The techno-mages were humanity's greatest achievement and most closely guarded secret. Not soldiers, but something more. Human minds enhanced by technology to see patterns in reality that even the most advanced AI couldn't comprehend. They were the architects of Project Aegis, the one defense humanity believed could stand against the Conclave. Ambassador Vorix of the Eulurian Dominance, senior representative of the Conclave, stood on the command deck of the Arbitrator, flagship of the investigation fleet. The holographic display showed a small, unremarkable yellow star and its planets. "Primitive, by all accounts," said his second, Trell. "Our long-range scans detect minimal spacefaring capability, limited to their solar system. Yet something triggered our quantum detection arrays." Vorex's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of contemplation. "Every species that has ever achieved quantum communication has been brought into the Conclave within a decade of discovery. This one has hidden from us. Perhaps they fear us," suggested Trell. "As they should," Vorex replied. "But fear typically drives species to develop weapons. Our scans detect nothing of the sort." That troubled Vorex more than he wanted to admit. In the long history of the Conclave, every newly discovered species followed predictable patterns. They either welcomed the advanced technology the Conclave offered, becoming dependent and subservient, or they resisted and were conquered. But none had simply hidden. "Prepare a diplomatic contingent," Vorex decided. "We will follow protocol. Offer them technology, knowledge, and protection in exchange for their resources and loyalty. If they refuse..." He left the sentence unfinished. There was no need to state the obvious. On Earth, preparations accelerated. While the public remained unaware of the approaching visitors, the world's governments, long unified under the Global Defense Council, mobilized resources for Project Aegis. Elena found herself redirected from Luna to Aegis Station, working directly with Admiral Chen. The station hummed with activity as massive structures emerged from hidden bays, assembling themselves in orbit around Earth like a complex, crystalline web. "It's beautiful," she said, watching through the observation window as sections of the barrier took shape. "And untested against their weapons," Chen reminded her. "The simulations are promising, but the Conclave has technology we've only observed from a distance." "Then why not weapons?" Elena asked. "Why build a shield instead of a sword?" Chen's expression softened slightly. "Because that's what they'd expect. Every species they've encountered has either submitted or fought back with conventional weapons. Neither worked. We needed to do something they wouldn't anticipate." He gestured to the growing lattice of structures. "The barrier doesn't just stop attacks, it redirects energy. The more they hit it, the stronger it becomes. At least, that's the theory." Elena understood the science behind Project Aegis. The barrier utilized quantum entanglement to distribute any energy directed at it across its entire structure, essentially rendering attacks ineffective by dispersing them to the point of irrelevance. But theory and practice were different things. "And the technomages?" she asked. "They're the key," Chen said. "The barrier is just technology. The mages are the ones who can adapt it in real time, who can see patterns in the Conclave's attacks and adjust our defenses faster than any computer." Elena had never met a technomage. Few had. They were almost mythical figures within the Global Defense Council, humans who had volunteered to merge with technology in ways most found disturbing. Not cyborgs exactly, but something new. People who could process information like computers while retaining human intuition and creativity. "I should meet them," she decided. "If I'm going to help coordinate our response, I need to understand how they think." Chen hesitated, then nodded. "I'll arrange it. But be prepared. They're still human, but they see the world differently now." The first sign that the Conclave had truly noticed Earth came not as an attack, but as a message broadcast on all frequencies in perfect English. "People of Earth, we bring greetings from the Conclave of Seven, the peaceful union of advanced civilizations that governs this sector of the galaxy. We have observed your development and wish to extend an invitation to join our prosperity. We offer technology, knowledge, and protection from the dangers of the cosmos. In return, we ask only for your cooperation and reasonable access to your planet's resources. We will arrive in your orbit in 90 standard days to begin formal discussions." The message repeated in every major language on Earth. Within hours, it had reached every corner of the globe. The secret was out. Humanity was not alone, and visitors were coming. In emergency sessions, the Global Defense Council debated how to respond. Some argued for accepting the Conclave's offer, pointing to their overwhelming technological advantage. Others, primarily those aware of Earth's secret observations of the Conclave, urged caution. Admiral Chen addressed the Council directly. "We've watched them for decades. They offer technology in exchange for reasonable access to resources. But once a world accepts, that access becomes unreasonable very quickly. They strip planets bare, and when the inhabitants protest, they're reminded of how dependent they've become on Conclave technology." "But can we afford to refuse them?" asked the representative from the African Union. "If they've conquered 1,000 worlds, what chance do we have?" "We have Project Aegis," Chen replied. And we have something they've never encountered before, the techno-mages. A murmur ran through the council chamber. Most knew of Project Aegis only as a defense initiative, not its true nature. "Show them," Chen said to his aide. The chamber lights dimmed, and a holographic display activated. It showed the barrier taking shape around Earth, a delicate-looking web of interconnected nodes that seemed far too fragile to defend against an interstellar armada. "This is humanity's shield," Chen explained. "Not a physical barrier to stop their ships, but something far more sophisticated. It won't prevent them from approaching, but it will render their weapons useless. And if it fails?" someone asked. Chen's expression remained impassive. "Then we'll have made our stand. But I believe in humanity's ingenuity. We've had 50 years to prepare while observing their technology. The Conclave expects either submission or conventional resistance. We're offering neither." After hours of debate, the Council reached its decision. Earth would not immediately accept the Conclave's offer, nor would they reject it outright. They would stall, asking for more information, requesting face-to-face meetings, all while Project Aegis raced to completion. In his meditation chamber in the Swiss facility, Marcus felt the decision resonate through the neural mesh. Around him, hundreds of techno-mages adjusted their calculations, fine-tuning the barrier's design. They worked in perfect harmony, each mind contributing to a greater whole without losing its individual perspective. Through the mesh, Marcus could feel the barrier taking shape, could sense its strengths and vulnerabilities as if it were part of his own body. The technology they had developed went beyond mere machinery. It was an extension of human consciousness itself. "They're coming to test us," he whispered to his closest colleague, Dr. Sophia Lin. Unlike normal conversation, his words carried layers of meaning through the neural mesh. Concerns about specific weaknesses in the barrier, calculations about conclave weapon capabilities, emotional uncertainty about humanity's readiness. Sophia nodded, her eyes closed as she processed multiple streams of data. "The barrier will hold," she replied, her confidence flowing through the mesh as clearly as her words. "It's our minds they won't expect. No species they've encountered has merged with technology as we have. Because they fear becoming like the machines they control," Marcus said. "They use technology as a tool. We've made it part of ourselves." That was humanity's secret advantage. The Conclave used advanced AI and robots, but always kept them separate, controlled. Humanity had taken a different path, creating the techno-mages, humans who embrace technology not as masters, but as partners. Neither fully human nor machine, but something new. As the day of first contact approached, Earth prepared itself as best it could. The barrier neared completion, a gossamer web surrounding the planet, invisible to the naked eye, but present in ways that mattered. And in their hidden facility, the techno-mages waited, humanity's silent watchers and ultimate defense. The Conclave was coming, and for the first time in its long history of conquest, disguised as benevolence, it would face something truly new: the encirclement. The Conclave fleet arrived exactly when they promised, 90 days after their message. 37 ships emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system, their crystalline hulls gleaming in the distant sunlight. They were beautiful in the way that apex predators are beautiful, elegant, powerful, and deadly. On Aegis Station, Admiral Chen watched the tactical display as the alien vessels formed a precise formation and began their approach toward Earth. Behind him stood Elena, her eyes fixed on the redouts monitoring the barrier's status. "They're scanning us," she reported. "Comprehensive electromagnetic sweeps, gravitational analysis, quantum field measurements." Chen nodded. "They're looking for weapons." "And finding none," Elena replied with a hint of concern. Earth had developed very few conventional space weapons, focusing instead on the barrier. The lack of visible defenses might seem like weakness or primitive technology to the Conclave. "That's exactly what we want them to think," Chen said. "The less threatening we appear, the more likely they are to follow standard protocol rather than attacking immediately." From their observations, Earth's intelligence had compiled extensive data on how the Conclave operated. They always followed the same pattern: offer technology, demonstrate overwhelming power to those who hesitated, and only resort to violence when faced with direct resistance. Status of the barrier, Chen asked. Fully deployed but inactive, Alina responded. The techno-mages are maintaining minimum energy signatures to avoid detection. The delicate web surrounding Earth remained virtually invisible, its quantum nodes in standby mode. Until activated, it was little more than an elaborate sensor network. And our guest. Alina gestured to a monitor showing a sealed chamber where a single figure sat in meditative pose. Dr. Marcus Waithe, the senior techno-mage who had volunteered to join them on Aegis Station. His presence created a direct neural link to the mage collective on Earth, allowing instant coordination when needed. "Ready," she said. Chen took a deep breath. "Then let's welcome our visitors." Ambassador Vorex observed the blue-green planet with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. His species had long since engineered their homeworld to perfection. Mathematically precise continents, weather controlled to 4 decimal places of predictability, oceans chemically balanced for optimal resource extraction. The chaotic beauty of Earth, with its random mountain ranges and undisciplined weather patterns, struck him as primitive and wasteful. Their response? He asked his communications officer. "They wish to establish a dialogue before formal meetings," came the reply. "They've designated an orbital station for initial contact." Vorex considered this. It was unusual for a species at this development stage to have a proper orbital facility, but not unprecedented. Their scans had revealed several crude habitats in Earth orbit, along with a moderately sophisticated satellite network. Nothing threatening, merely primitive. No signs of advanced weaponry, he confirmed. None, Ambassador. Their most powerful kinetic weapons could barely damage our secondary hull plating. They appear to have focused their development on habitation and communication technology rather than military applications. This was curious. Most species, upon reaching space, quickly developed weapons to defend their new frontier. These humans were either remarkably peaceful or remarkably foolish. "Prepare a diplomatic shuttle," Vorex decided. "I will lead the initial contact personally." His second, Trell, looked alarmed. "Ambassador, protocol suggests remote communication until we fully assess their capabilities." Vorex dismissed the concern with a flutter of his upper limbs. "These humans pose no threat, and my personal appearance will emphasize the importance we place on bringing them into the Conclave." Left unsayed was another motivation. Primitive species were often more easily impressed by direct contact with Conclave leadership. The sight of an alien ambassador often accelerated their acceptance of Conclave terms. "Position the fleet in standard observation formation," Vorex ordered. "Make sure the humans understand our capabilities without explicit threats." Standard observation formation was, in practice, a perfect encirclement of the planet. A demonstration of the Conclave's ability to target any location on the surface simultaneously if needed. It had proven effective at encouraging cooperation in the past. On Earth, in living rooms and public squares, billions of humans watched as the alien ships spread out around their planet. News networks broadcast continuous coverage. Experts speculated on the visitors' intentions, and religious leaders offered interpretations ranging from salvation to apocalypse. In Geneva, the Global Defense Council maintained outward calm while monitoring the situation with growing tension. The decision not to reveal Project Aegis to the public had been controversial, but necessary. The Conclave undoubtedly had intelligence capabilities that could intercept any broadcast information. Maya Okafor, the Council's youngest member at 32, watched the alien ships with particular intensity. As head of Earth's public communications network, she would be responsible for managing humanity's reaction to whatever came next. "We need to prepare the public for the possibility that these negotiations won't go well," she said to her colleagues. "That would cause panic," objected the representative from East Asia. "Better to project confidence." Maya shook her head. "Not panic," Readiness. There's a difference. Our people aren't fools. They can see those ships positioned for maximum strategic advantage. The council chair, a stern Norwegian named Lindholm, raised his hand for silence. The conclave has requested an initial meeting aboard Aegis Station. Admiral Chen will represent our military interests. We need a civilian representative as well. All eyes turned to Maya. Me? She asked, surprised. As head of communications, she had expected to manage the public narrative, not participate directly. You understand both the technical and social implications better than most, Lindholm said. And you've been studying the conclave records since you were a graduate student. That was true. Before joining the council, Maya had been one of the few civilians granted access to Earth's observations of the conclave. She had written her doctoral thesis on their communication patterns and diplomatic strategies. Very well, she agreed. When do I leave? Immediately, Lindholm said. The conclave ambassador's shuttle is already en route to Aegis Station. Marcus felt the approach of the alien shuttle as a disturbance in the quantum field, not through any physical sensor, but through the neural mesh connecting him to the barrier. The techno-mages had become so integrated with their technology that they perceived the world differently now, sensing energy flows and field distortions as naturally as ordinary humans sensed light and sound. Through the mesh, he could feel his colleagues on Earth adjusting the barrier in subtle ways, preparing for any possibility. The alien shuttle would be permitted to pass through, a calculated risk to demonstrate Earth's willingness to negotiate. Admiral Chen entered Marcus's chamber without knocking. They're almost here. Are you ready? Marcus opened his eyes, the faint blue glow of his neural implants visible beneath his skin. I am prepared. The barrier will remain dormant unless attacked, but we can activate it in 0.3 seconds if necessary. Chen nodded, still slightly uncomfortable in the techno-mage's presence. Marcus looked human enough, a slender Asian man in his 50s, but the subtle movements of nanomachines beneath his skin and the unnatural stillness of his posture made it clear he was something more. You'll observe the meeting remotely, Chen explained. We don't want to reveal your capabilities yet. Wise, Marcus agreed. The conclave fears true artificial intelligence. They would find our integration with technology disturbing. From their observations, Earth had learned that the conclave strictly controlled AI development, permitting only limited applications that remained firmly under biological control. The concept of humans willingly merging with machines would likely be seen as heresy. Will you be able to sense if they're lying? Chen asked. Marcus tilted his head slightly. Not directly, but through the neural mesh, we can analyze micro-expressions, vocal stress patterns, and electromagnetic fluctuations in their technology that might indicate deception. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than going in blind. Chen nodded his thanks and left to prepare for the meeting. The conclave shuttle docked with precision at Aegis Station. Ambassador Vorex emerged first, his tall, insectoid form requiring him to duck through the airlock. Behind him came 4 other Eulurians, each carrying ceremonial staffs that doubled as advanced scanning and communication devices. Admiral Chen waited in the reception area, accompanied by Maya, and a small delegation of Earth officials. They had practiced this moment extensively, balancing respect with dignity. Ambassador Vorex, Chen said, offering a slight bow. On behalf of Earth, welcome to Aegis Station. Vorex studied the humans with his 4 eyes, noting their physical weakness compared to his own species. They were smaller, softer, with no natural armor and limited sensory capabilities. Yet there was something in their posture, a quiet confidence that seemed at odds with their technological inferiority. Admiral Chen, he responded, using the translation device embedded in his thorax. The conclave appreciates your willingness to engage in dialogue. I trust you have considered our initial communication. We have, Chen replied carefully, and we have many questions before we could consider a formal relationship with the conclave. Vorex's upper limbs fluttered in what humans would later learn was a gesture of mild irritation. Questions are expected. However, I must emphasize that the benefits of conclave membership are substantial. Your civilization could advance centuries within a decade. At what cost? Maya asked, stepping forward. Forgive my directness, Ambassador, but relationships of mutual benefit typically involve exchange. What does the conclave seek from Earth? Vorex turned his attention to Maya, reassessing the situation. These humans were more direct than anticipated. Most species at this developmental stage were overawed by conclave technology and eager to accept any terms. A reasonable question, he acknowledged. The conclave seeks resources, of course, certain minerals and biological compounds that your planet possesses in abundance, access to your cultural archives for the conclave repository, and a modest governance adjustment to align Earth with conclave protocols. Governance adjustment, Chen repeated. Nothing disruptive, Vorex assured them. Merely the installation of conclave advisors to assist your leaders in implementing our technologies effectively. This has proven most efficient on other worlds. Through his neural link, Marcus instantly recognized the pattern. This was exactly how the conclave began the process of taking control. Technology in exchange for resources, advisors who gradually became overseers, and eventually, complete subjugation. He sent a pulse through the neural mesh, alerting the techno-mages on Earth to prepare for possible conflict. The barrier remained dormant, but every component was now ready for instant activation. The meeting continued for hours, with Vorex presenting increasingly impressive demonstrations of conclave technology, medical devices that could cure diseases, energy sources that made Earth's nuclear power look primitive, and agricultural systems that could end hunger globally. With each demonstration, he emphasized the same point. All this could be Earth's, in exchange for reasonable accommodation of conclave needs. Maya listened carefully, asking pointed questions about implementation timelines and governance implications. The answers were always smooth, reasonable on the surface, but consistently vague about long-term conclave presence on Earth. We will need time to consider your proposal, Chen finally said. Our global governance structure requires consultation with all member nations. Vorex's posture stiffened. Of course. However, I should mention that the conclave's offer is time-sensitive. Our resources are in demand across many systems. How much time would be appropriate? Maya asked. 3 of your Earth days should be sufficient, Vorex replied. More than enough for reasonable creatures to recognize an advantageous arrangement. Chen and Maya exchanged glances. 3 days was barely enough time for the council to convene, let alone reach a global consensus. We will do our best, Chen said diplomatically. In the meantime, we've prepared accommodations if you wish to remain on the station. Vorex declined. I will return to my vessel to prepare the initial technology transfer packages, assuming your agreement. After the conclave delegation departed, Maya turned to Chen. They're not here to negotiate. They expect surrender. Chen nodded grimly. That matches our intelligence. Did you notice how he avoided specific commitments about how much of our resources they would take, or how long their advisors would remain? Through his monitoring system, Marcus spoke. The conclave delegation's technology showed energy spikes during discussions of governance and resource allocation, possible indications they were communicating with their fleet beyond the translation we received. What do we do now? Maya asked. We stall, Chen replied. Request clarifications. Ask for more specific terms. Meanwhile, we prepare for their real response when we eventually refuse. Will they attack immediately? Chen looked out the viewport at the distant shimmer of the conclave shuttle returning to its mothership. Based on their established patterns, they'll first try intimidation, a demonstration of force against an uninhabited area or a limited strike against military targets. Only if we still refuse will they launch a full attack. Maya considered this. Then we need to be ready to reveal the barrier at exactly the right moment, after they've committed to an attack, but before they can cause significant damage. Marcus's voice came through the communication system again. The techno-mages concur. We are calculating optimal activation parameters now. And if the barrier fails? Maya asked the question no one wanted to voice. There was a long silence before Chen answered. Then humanity makes its last stand. But I don't believe it will come to that. The next day, the Conclave's patience began to wear thin. When Earth requested additional information about the specific resources the Conclave would require, Vorax responded with a demonstration rather than an answer. A single Conclave destroyer positioned itself above the Atlantic Ocean and fired what appeared to be a narrow beam of golden light. Where it touched the water, a perfect cylinder of ocean simply vanished, evaporated instantly to a depth of 1 kilometer, creating a massive cylindrical void in the sea. Before the surrounding water could rush in to fill the void, the beam shut off. The resulting collapse created a tsunami that the Conclave carefully calculated to be just small enough to avoid major coastal damage, a precision demonstration of power with minimal casualties. The message was clear. The Conclave could take what they wanted with or without Earth's permission. On Aegis Station, Chen watched the demonstration with cold fury. They'd never done this so quickly before. Something's different. Maya, who had remained on the station rather than returning to Earth, studied the sensor readings. They're scanning the area extensively. I think they're looking for our reaction, expecting us to reveal defenses. Marcus, who had remained in silent observation, suddenly spoke. Energy signatures from the Conclave fleet are changing. They're preparing for a full military operation, not just demonstrations. Chen's expression darkened. They know. Know what? Maya asked. They know we've been watching them. Somehow they've realized we have more information about them than we should. They're accelerating their standard protocol because they perceive us as a larger threat. Through the neural mesh, Marcus confirmed the analysis. The Conclave ships were moving into attack positions much faster than their historical pattern would suggest. We need to activate the barrier now, Maya urged, before they attack. Chen shook his head. Not yet. We need them fully committed. If they're merely testing us, and we reveal our defense, they'll pull back and develop countermeasures. Admiral, Marcus interrupted, his voice unnaturally calm. The techno-mages have detected energy buildups in 27 Conclave vessels. Weapons are powering. Estimated time to firing: 45 seconds. Chen made his decision. Initiate full barrier activation. Maya, broadcast the emergency signal Earthwide. All citizens to shelter immediately. Marcus closed his eyes, connecting fully with the neural mesh. Across Earth, 500 techno-mages did the same, their augmented minds joining in perfect synchronization. Through their collective consciousness, they activated the quantum barrier, humanity's one defense against annihilation. The previously invisible web surrounding Earth suddenly shimmered into visibility as energy flowed through its matrix. It appeared delicate, almost fragile, like a soap bubble encasing the planet. On the Conclave command ship, Vorax watched in confusion as their sensors detected the energy field forming around Earth. "What is this?" he demanded. Before his officers could answer, he gave the order. "Fire. All vessels. Demonstration pattern Alpha." 27 energy weapons discharged simultaneously, striking the barrier at calculated points around the globe. Each beam was powerful enough to vaporize a small city. But instead of penetrating to the surface, the energy beams seemed to spread across the barrier's surface, diffusing like water on a lotus leaf. The barrier rippled with colors as it absorbed and redistributed the enormous energy input. Not a single weapon reached Earth's atmosphere. Vorax stared in disbelief. Impossible. Increase power and fire again. The second volley was twice as powerful as the first, enough energy to crack a small moon. Again, the barrier absorbed it, glowing brighter but remaining intact. In fact, sensor readings indicated the barrier was now stronger than before. On Aegis Station, Maya watched in awe as the barrier performed exactly as designed, converting the Conclave's attacks into additional power. "It's working," she whispered. "Now," Chen said with grim satisfaction, "we respond." He opened a channel to the Conclave flagship. "Ambassador Vorex, this is Admiral Chen. Your attack has been neutralized. Earth rejects the Conclave's offer of protection and demands the immediate withdrawal of your fleet from our solar system." There was a long pause before Vorex responded, his translator unable to fully mask the rage in his voice. "This technology is unknown to us. Explain yourselves immediately." "We've been watching you, Ambassador," Chen replied calmly. "For decades, we've seen what happens to worlds that accept your generous offer. Earth will not be conquered or exploited." Another pause, longer this time. When Vorex spoke again, his tone had changed from rage to calculation. "Perhaps there has been a misunderstanding. The Conclave does not conquer. We elevate primitive species, give them the benefits of our advanced civilization. By stripping their worlds of resources and subjugating their people," Maya interrupted, unable to contain herself. "We've seen the truth." "Impossible," Vorex hissed. "You lack the technology to observe beyond your system." Maya smiled, though Vorex couldn't see it. "That's where you're wrong, Ambassador. Humanity has capabilities you haven't imagined." Through the neural mesh, Marcus sent an alert. The Conclave ships were adjusting their formations, preparing for a different attack pattern. The barrier would hold, but something else was happening. "They're sending transmissions," he reported. "Powerful burst signals to destinations outside our solar system." Chen nodded grimly, calling for reinforcements. Maya's expression suddenly changed as an idea formed. "Can we intercept those transmissions? See what they're saying?" Marcus consulted with the Techno-Mage Collective through the neural mesh. "Yes. The barrier's quantum structure allows us to analyze any energy that interacts with it, including their communications." "Then let's find out what they're really saying about us," Maya suggested. "And more importantly, let's make sure everyone else hears it too." For the first time since the crisis began, Admiral Chen smiled. "Maya, I think you've just identified our counterattack." The Conclave had surrounded Earth, expecting an easy conquest. Instead, they found themselves unable to penetrate humanity's single impenetrable blockade, and completely unaware that their own communications were about to become their greatest vulnerability. The liberation. Maya stood in Aegis Station's communication center, surrounded by holographic displays of Conclave transmission data. The Techno-Mages had intercepted and decoded the aliens' communications with remarkable speed, revealing the truth behind their diplomatic facade. "They're not just calling for reinforcements," she said, studying the translations. "They're discussing complete resource extraction protocols. They intended to strip Earth bare from the beginning." Admiral Chen reviewed the data grimly. According to this, they'd done the same to over 3,000 worlds, not the 1,000 we estimated. And these advisors they mentioned, actually consciousness suppression specialists who would have ensured humanity's compliance. The Conclave's transmissions revealed a systematic process of conquest that had been refined over millennia. Identify developing civilizations, offer technology that created dependency, install advisors who gradually took control, and finally strip the planet of resources while relocating the population to labor colonies if they showed useful aptitudes. "We need to share this," Maya said decisively, "not just with Earth, but with every world under Conclave control." Chen looked skeptical. "How? We can barely communicate within our own solar system." Marcus, who had been silently monitoring the situation through his neural implants, spoke up. "The Conclave uses quantum entanglement for their interstellar communications, the same technology we adapted for our observations. Their network is vastly larger than ours, but the principles are identical." "Can we access it?" Maya asked. Marcus closed his eyes briefly, consulting with the Techno-Mage Collective. "Yes. The barrier is already interacting with their quantum fields. With modifications, we could repurpose their network." "You mean hijack it?" Chen said, a hint of admiration in his voice. "Temporarily redirect would be more accurate," Marcus replied. "But we would need to act quickly, before they realize what we're doing." Maya's mind raced with possibilities. If we could broadcast the truth about the Conclave to all their subjugated worlds simultaneously, it would cause chaos throughout their empire, Chen finished, potentially triggering widespread rebellion. The plan took shape rapidly. The techno-mages would use the barrier's interaction with Conclave weapons to create a temporary bridge into their quantum communication network. Through this bridge, Earth would broadcast evidence of the Conclave's true intentions, not just their plans for Earth, but their history of exploitation across thousands of worlds. "We'll need to prepare a message that translates across multiple species and cultures," Maya noted. "Something clear and undeniable." "The techno-mages can help with that," Marcus offered. "Our neural mesh allows us to process and adapt communication patterns more efficiently than conventional methods." Chen nodded. "How long will it take?" 6 hours to prepare the network access, Marcus estimated. Another 2 for message preparation and translation templates. "The Conclave won't sit idle that long," Chen warned. "They're already adjusting their attack patterns, trying to find weaknesses in the barrier." Through the neural mesh, Marcus received updates from the techno-mages on Earth. "The barrier is holding, but you're right. They're becoming more sophisticated in their approaches. They've switched from energy weapons to gravitic distortion, attempting to create localized collapses in the field structure." "Can the barrier withstand that?" Maya asked. "Yes, but maintaining integrity against changing attack vectors requires more processing power from the Techno-Mage Collective," Marcus explained. "It diverts resources we need for accessing their network." Chen made his decision. "Focus on maintaining the barrier. We need to survive long enough to implement this plan." "There may be another option," Marcus said after a moment of silent communion with the collective. "We've been defensive thus far, but the barrier can also project." "Project? You mean attack?" Chen asked. "Not exactly. We can extend quantum filaments beyond the barrier, too fine to damage their ships, but potentially enough to directly access their communication arrays." It was a risky strategy. Extending the barrier would make it more vulnerable, but would also accelerate their plans significantly. After brief deliberation, they decided to proceed. On the Conclave flagship, Vorex faced an unprecedented situation. Never in his long career had a primitive species resisted Conclave power so effectively. The energy barrier surrounding Earth had withstood every weapon in their arsenal, somehow growing stronger with each attack. "Status report," he demanded. His science officer's response was hesitant. "The barrier appears to be a quantum-entangled energy matrix, Ambassador. Each point is connected to every other point, allowing it to distribute our attacks across its entire structure." "Impossible," Vorex dismissed. "Such technology is beyond even Conclave capability." "Nevertheless, it exists," the science officer insisted. "And there's more. We're detecting unusual quantum fluctuations in our own systems. Something is attempting to interface with our communication array." Vorex's 4 eyes widened in alarm. "Sever all connections to the central network immediately." "Too late," came the reply. "The quantum bridge is already established." On screens throughout the Conclave ship, something unprecedented occurred. The communication system activated independently, displaying a human face. "Maya Okafor." "People of the Conclave domains," she began, her voice translated automatically into the languages of 1,000 species. "My name is Maya Okafor of Earth. What I am about to show you is the truth about your Conclave overlords, a truth they have hidden from you for centuries." Vorex watched in horror as the broadcast continued, showing intercepted Conclave communications detailing their exploitation strategies, resource extraction quotas, and population control methods. Worst of all, it included the Conclave leadership's private assessment of client species as livestock to be managed rather than partners. "Shut it down," Vorex screamed, but his technicians were powerless. The quantum entanglement that made their communication network instantaneous across vast distances now worked against them, carrying Earth's message to every conclave-controlled world simultaneously. "You've been lied to," Maya continued. "The conclave doesn't elevate species, it enslaves them. It doesn't share technology, it creates dependency. And now, they face resistance. Earth has developed defenses the conclave cannot overcome. If we can resist, so can you." The broadcast ended with technical specifications for Earth's barrier technology. Not complete plans, but enough to give subjugated worlds hope that resistance was possible. Across the conclave's vast domain, the response was immediate and chaotic. On worlds where discontent had simmered for generations, open rebellion erupted. On others, confusion and demands for explanation spread rapidly. The carefully maintained illusion of benevolent guidance crumbled in hours. On Aegis Station, Maya collapsed into a chair, exhausted by the intensity of the broadcast. Did it work? Marcus monitored the neural mesh, where techno-mages were processing incoming quantum data. The message reached approximately 94% of conclave-controlled systems. Response patterns indicate significant disruption to their command structure. Chen studied tactical displays showing the conclave fleet around Earth. They stopped attacking the barrier. Several ships appear to be preparing to depart. "They're being recalled," Marcus confirmed, still connected to the intercepted communications. "Rebellions have broken out in multiple core systems. The Conclave High Council is ordering all available ships to return for suppression operations." Maya allowed herself a small smile. "So we've won." "We've survived," Chen corrected. "The Conclave still exists, and they'll remember Earth." "They'll fear Earth," Marcus added. "We've demonstrated technology they don't understand and can't counter, and we've severely damaged their reputation throughout their domain." The immediate crisis appeared to be over. Within hours, most of the Conclave fleet departed Earth orbit, jumping to faster-than-light travel with minimal communication. Only 3 ships remained, ostensibly as a diplomatic presence, but in reality to monitor Earth's capabilities. In emergency session, the Global Defense Council debated next steps. Some argued for maintaining isolation, focusing on strengthening Earth's defenses against potential future attacks. Others, including Maya, advocated for a more proactive approach. "We have an opportunity and a responsibility," she told the Council. "Worlds throughout the galaxy are rising up against conclave oppression because of what we showed them. They need allies, guidance, perhaps protection. Are you suggesting we extend the barrier technology to other species?" Lindholm asked. "Not exactly," Maya clarified. "But we could share enough to help them defend themselves, and perhaps offer an alternative to the conclave." The debate continued for days, but eventually a consensus emerged. Earth would not repeat the conclave's mistakes by imposing its will on others. Instead, it would offer knowledge and partnership to those who sought it, creating a new model of interstellar cooperation. 3 months after the conclave's retreat, humanity launched its first diplomatic mission beyond the solar system. The Starship Hope, powered by technology reverse-engineered from conclave vessels, carried representatives to worlds that had successfully broken free from conclave control. Admiral Chen commanded the mission, with Maya serving as chief diplomat. And with them traveled a small contingent of techno-mages, including Marcus, to provide both technical expertise and a direct link to Earth through their quantum entanglement capabilities. Their first destination was Kalora, a world whose rebellion had been particularly effective, overthrowing conclave administrators within days of Earth's broadcast. As Hope entered Caloran orbit, they faced uncertain reception. Would these aliens, reptilian humanoids with an ancient civilization, welcome humans as liberators or fear them as potential new conquerors? The answer came as they descended to the planet's surface. Thousands of Calorans lined the approach to their capital city, holding aloft banners bearing a simple symbol that had spread across former conclave worlds, the blue-green sphere surrounded by a delicate web of light. "Earth and its barrier," now a galaxy-wide symbol of resistance and hope. Maya stepped from the shuttle, the first human to set foot on an alien world, and was greeted by the Caloran High Speaker. "You come as promised," the alien said through a translation device. "Not as conquerors, but as equals." "We come as friends," Maya confirmed. "To share knowledge and build a different kind of future, one where worlds stand together by choice, not coercion." The Caloran gestured to the assembled crowd. "Many feared you would be no different from the Conclave, merely new masters replacing old ones. Your barrier technology is powerful enough to make you dominators if you wished." Chen stepped forward. "Earth knows the value of freedom. We didn't develop the barrier to conquer, but to protect. And now you offer to help us protect ourselves," the High Speaker observed. "We offer exchange," Maya clarified. "Earth has some technologies the Conclave doesn't, our barrier being the most obvious. But you have knowledge and perspectives developed over a much longer civilization than ours. Together, we all become stronger." It was the beginning of what would eventually become the Stellar Cooperative, not an empire or a forced alliance, but a network of independent worlds sharing knowledge, resources, and mutual defense against threats like the diminished but still dangerous Conclave. 1 year after first contact, Admiral Chen stood on the observation deck of Aegis Station, watching Earth rotate below. Beside him stood Marcus, recently returned from a diplomatic mission to a distant system. "The Cooperative now includes 27 worlds," Marcus reported, "and the Conclave continues to lose control of its outer territories." "And the inner ones?" Chen asked. "Still firmly under their control. They've become more insular, more militarized. They view Earth as their primary adversary now." Chen nodded solemnly. "They'll come back eventually, with new weapons designed to counter the barrier. The techno-mages are already working on adaptations," Marcus assured him, "and the collective grows stronger as other species join their ranks." This had been perhaps the most surprising development. Individuals from other liberated worlds volunteering to undergo the techno-mage process, merging with technology to enhance their mental capabilities. What had begun as a uniquely human approach to defense had evolved into a multi-species collective consciousness, each member bringing new perspectives and insights. "I never expected to see humans and aliens working together so quickly," Chen admitted. "Necessity accelerates adaptation," Marcus observed. "The Conclave united us all through opposition to their rule." They were interrupted by Maya's arrival. Now serving as Earth's representative to the Stellar Cooperative, she spent much of her time traveling between member worlds. "The Calarans have completed their first successful barrier test," she announced. "Smaller than ours, but functional. And the Interi have integrated their biological computing systems with our quantum technology to create something entirely new." "The galaxy is changing faster than anyone anticipated," Chen noted. Maya nodded. "The Conclave ruled for thousands of years by keeping species isolated and dependent. By working together openly, we're advancing technologies they suppressed for centuries." "Do you ever wonder if we're moving too quickly?" Chen asked. "Spreading technologies that could be dangerous in the wrong hands." "Every day," Maya admitted. "But the alternative was submission to the Conclave. At least this way, each species determines its own path." Marcus, who had been silent, suddenly spoke. "The neural mesh is detecting unusual quantum fluctuations from the edge of the solar system. Something is coming." Chen stiffened. "Conclave?" "No," Marcus replied, his expression puzzled. "The signature is unfamiliar. Not Conclave, not any species in our database. Something new," Maya realized, "or something very old." As they watched, long-range sensors detected a vessel emerging from faster-than-light travel, a massive ship unlike any they had seen before, neither Conclave nor from any known species of the forming cooperative. "Open communications," Chen ordered. For a tense moment, there was no response. Then a voice came through, speaking perfect English. "People of Earth, we have watched your resistance to the Conclave with great interest. Perhaps you are finally ready for the truth." "What truth?" Maya asked, unable to contain her curiosity. "That the Conclave are not the original power in this galaxy. They are usurpers who stole their technology from those they overthrew, just as your observations suggested. We are the precursors, and we have waited millennia for a species with both the capability and the moral character to help us reclaim what was taken." Marcus exchanged glances with Chen and Maya. "Another player enters the game," he said quietly. Maya smiled. "Or perhaps an old one returns." Chen remained cautious. Friend or foe remains to be seen. But all three knew that humanity's journey had only just begun. From a single barrier that had turned the tide against an overwhelming force, they had sparked a galactic revolution. Whatever came next, whether alliance with these mysterious precursors or continued conflict with the wounded Conclave, Earth would not face it alone. The stars, once feared as the domain of conquerors, now shone with possibility. And humanity, once hidden and isolated, had found its place among them, not as rulers or subjects, but as architects of a new and more just cosmic order. As the precursor ship approached Earth, the barrier remained active, a shimmering reminder that humanity would always stand ready to defend itself and its allies. But a small opening appeared in the quantum web, a gesture of cautious welcome to these potential new allies in humanity's ongoing journey among the stars. The future remained unwritten, but one thing was certain: the universe would never be the same again.